The air was thick and sticky, like warm treacle. It was one of those summer nights in our little town where everything felt slow and sleepy. The sun had finally gone down, but it left behind a blanket of heat that made your clothes stick to your skin. Me, Tara, Nina and Sophie, we were all melting. We were best friends, the four of us, always together. We knew each other's secrets, finished each other's sentences, and shared everything from chips to worries. That night, we were escaping our boring houses and our parents who were just sitting in front of the telly with the fan on full blast. We had a better place to be, our place. Our secret place was the old playground behind the primary school. It wasn't really secret, of course, but it felt like hours after dark. The swings were a bit rusty and creaked like ghosts, and the roundabout was so stiff you had to push with all your might to get it going. But we loved it. It was where we came to whisper and giggle and talk about everything important, like boys and homework and what we wanted to be when we grew up. We'd sit in a circle on the soft, worn-out rubber tiles under the climbing frame, our faces lit up by the glow of our phones. It felt like our own little kingdom, away from everyone else. That night felt different, though. There was a buzz in the air, a feeling that something was about to happen. Maybe it was just the heat making us all a bit giddy. Tara was trying to plait Nina's long, dark hair, but her fingers were too clumsy and warm. Sophie was lying on her back, staring up at the stars, counting them out loud. And I was just waiting for Leah. She was always the last one to arrive, always the one with a story or a surprise. She made things exciting. She was the spark in our little group, and tonight she was about to bring a real one. We heard the familiar scuff of her trainers on the pavement just before she appeared at the gate. "Sorry I'm late," she said, her voice breathless. She was holding a big, lumpy plastic bag, and she had a grin on her face that was both exciting and a little bit scary. We all sat up, our tiredness forgotten. When Leah looked like that, you knew it was going to be a night to remember. We just didn't know then that we would remember it for all the wrong reasons. The air suddenly felt charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks, full of a strange and nervous energy. Leah dropped the plastic bag in the middle of our circle. It made a heavy clunking sound. "Guess what I've got?" she said, her eyes shining with mischief. We all leaned in closer, our curiosity bubbling up like a fizzy drink. Tara poked the bag with her toe. "What is it? Did you bring us all donuts?" she asked hopefully. Leah shook her head, her grin getting even wider. She slowly untied the knot at the top of the bag and tipped the contents onto the ground. They weren't donuts. They were fireworks, big ones with bright, colourful paper and long, stringy fuses. My heart did a little jump. They weren't the silly sparklers our dads bought for bonfire night. These looked serious. There were rockets shaped like giant pencils, and things called Roman candles, and a big square box with a picture of a dragon breathing fire on the front. "Where did you get these?" Nina whispered, her voice full of awe. "My cousin," Leah said proudly. "He said they're the proper ones. A bit illegal, maybe." The word illegal hung in the hot, still air between us. It sounded dangerous and thrilling all at once. It made the fireworks seem even more special. Sophie picked one up, a rocket with a red and gold wrapper. "Are they safe?" she asked, looking worried. She was always the sensible one. Leah just shrugged. "Of course they are. You just light the end and stand back. Simple." But it didn't feel simple. It felt big and complicated and a tiny bit wrong. We were just four girls in a playground. We weren't supposed to have things like this. My stomach felt like it was full of butterflies, but they weren't happy butterflies. They were nervous, fluttery ones, bumping into each other in the dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke. We just stared at the pile of forbidden treasure. The bright wrappers promised explosions of colour and sound, a private show just for us. The idea was so exciting. We could light up the whole sky above our small, boring town. It was Leah's idea, and we never said no to Leah. Her confidence was infectious. "Come on," she urged, seeing our hesitation. "Don't be babies, it'll be amazing. Just one. Let's just try one little one." The promise of a shared secret, a shared adventure, was too strong to resist. We all nodded, a silent agreement passing between us. Leah picked out a medium-sized rocket. It was called the Silver Screamer. "This one looks good," she said, her voice a little shaky now. The reality of what we were about to do was starting to sink in. She pulled a lighter from her pocket, the flame flickering to life with a small click. It looked tiny and brave in the vast darkness of the playground. We all huddled around her, our shoulders touching. The heat from our bodies and the heat from the night all mixed together. I could hear my own breathing, quick and shallow. It was the kind of quiet that comes just before a loud noise. We decided the best place to set it off was in the middle of the empty netball court. It was a big flat space, far away from the trees. Leah carefully propped the rocket up in an old, empty bottle she found near the bins. It stood there, pointing at the sky, looking like a little spaceship ready for launch. "Okay," Leah said, taking a deep breath. "Everyone stand back." We shuffled backwards, creating a wide circle around the bottle. My eyes were glued to the little white fuse sticking out of the bottom of the rocket. It seemed so small and innocent. Leah knelt down, her hand trembling as she held the lighter to the fuse. It caught instantly. A tiny orange spark fizzled to life and began to crawl up the string. It was happening. It was really happening. Leah scrambled back towards us, her face pale in the gloom. "It's going!" she yelled, a mix of fear and excitement in her voice. We all held our breath, our hearts thumping against our ribs in a frantic rhythm. The little spark raced faster and faster, a tiny, determined thing, eating up the fuse on its way to the main event. The world seemed to stop for a second. There was just the four of us, the dark playground, and the fizzing spark. We were holding hands without even realizing it, squeezing tight. It was a moment of pure, terrifying thrill. We were breaking the rules, all of us together. The rocket was supposed to shoot straight up into the air, a beautiful silver streak against the black velvet sky. That's what we imagined. A perfect, harmless burst of light. But things don't always go the way you imagine them, especially not on a hot, sticky night full of secrets and illegal fireworks. The rocket didn't shoot up. Instead of a graceful ascent, it sputtered. The bottle wobbled, tipped over, and fell with a soft clink onto the tarmac. The silver screamer, now lying on its side, suddenly roared to life. It didn't scream, it hissed like an angry snake. It shot across the netball court, a low, fiery torpedo, skidding and spinning wildly. We all screamed, a real scream this time, not an excited one. It was a sound of pure panic. The rocket was out of control, a streak of red and gold sparks flying everywhere, completely unpredictable. It was heading straight for the school, our old primary school, the place of sticky handprints and story time and sports days. It seemed to be moving in slow motion, but it was over in a flash. There was a terrible, loud smash. The sound of glass shattering echoed across the playground, sharp and ugly. The rocket had crashed right through one of the big windows of the Year 6 classroom. For a heartbeat, there was silence, a horrible, waiting silence. Then we saw it. A faint orange glow began to flicker from inside the dark classroom. The glow grew brighter. It wasn't a friendly flicker anymore. It was a hungry, dancing light. It licked at the curtains, turning them from pale blue to angry orange. A thin curl of grey smoke started to drift out of the broken window, smelling acrid and burnt. "Fire!" Sophie whispered, her voice cracking. The word hung in the air, heavy and awful. We had started a fire in our school. The beautiful, exciting firework had turned into a monster, and it was eating the classroom where we had once learned our times tables. Panic grabbed hold of us, cold and sharp despite the heat of the night. My legs felt like jelly, but my brain was screaming one word: run. We didn't need to say it out loud. We all turned at the same time, our friendship pulling us in the same direction. We scrambled for the playground gate, tripping over our own feet. Behind us, the orange light was growing bigger, brighter, painting a terrible picture against the night sky. We didn't look back. We just ran, the sound of our own panicked gasps filling our ears. We didn't stop running until our lungs burned and our legs ached. We ran through the quiet, sleeping streets, our footsteps pounding on the pavement. We ran past the War Memorial and down the steep hill that led to the town lake. The cool air coming off the water was a relief on our hot, tear-streaked faces. We collapsed onto the damp grass by the water's edge, a tangled heap of guilt and fear. We could still see the glow in the sky from over the trees, a horrible orange stain that seemed to be spreading. And then we heard it, a distant wail, getting closer and closer, a siren. The sound cut through the night, a sound of trouble and authority. It was for us, for what we had done. Tara started to cry, proper gulping sobs that shook her whole body. Nina wrapped her arms around her, but she was crying too, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. I just sat there, hugging my knees, feeling sick. The excitement was gone. The thrill had curdled into a cold, heavy lump in my stomach. We had done something so stupid, so incredibly wrong. We could have hurt someone. We had damaged our school. The siren got louder, closer, and then another one joined in. Leah was the one who spoke first. Her voice was small, all the earlier bravado gone. "I'm so sorry," she choked out. "It's all my fault." But we shook our heads. It wasn't just her fault. We were all there. We had all agreed. We were all in it together. "We all are," I said. And as I said it, I knew it was true. This wasn't just Leah's secret anymore. It was ours. A shared, terrible secret that bound us together more tightly than any friendship bracelet ever could. We sat there by the lake for what felt like hours, listening to the sirens fade as they reached the school. As the first hint of dawn began to lighten the sky, we made a promise. We held hands, our fingers sticky and cold, and we swore we would never ever play with fireworks again. We swore we would never tell anyone what happened. It would be our secret forever. That night changed us. It burned away some of our childish innocence and left behind a scar of shared memory. We walked home in silence as the town began to wake up, feeling older and sadder. Our friendship was still there, but it was different now, weighted down by the knowledge of the fire and the sound of the broken glass.